At Optavia, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The following audio contains the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the Optavia community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join Optavia, but please note they have not been verified and your individual journey to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider in the US or a doctor in Singapore and Hong Kong prior to beginning your journey with Optavia. Additionally, this audio may contain income or earning representations of some independent Optavia coaches. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with Optavia is derived from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Optavia acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to Optavia coaches in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. For independent Optavia coaches operating in the US, please see the Optavia Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of US coaches under the US Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent Optavia coaches operating in the US under the US Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan. Yours in Health, the Optavia team.
Well, welcome to the Habits of Health Community Time. I'm Shirley Mast. I'm an independent certified Optavia coach, and I'm delighted that you've taken this time to join us to learn more about creating healthy habits. We are going to be talking this time about element 14 in your life book, and I'll mention a little bit more later about exactly what your life book is all about. But our topic is transitioning to healthy eating for life. Now, for some of you, you are currently working on losing weight using our weight loss program. But some of you, maybe you started this program already at a healthy weight, and you're just interested in how do I start eating healthier? How do I create healthy eating habits? So wherever it is you're coming at on this topic tonight, we've got something for you tonight. We're really glad you're here. I'll do a little bit of self-introduction just in case we've never met. I personally was introduced to this program, and my physician introduced me to the program. And he said, I think this program will help you. Now, if you're able to see the screen or you're watching the recording on YouTube, you can see by the picture, my health was not at a good place. At that point, I weighed close to 400 pounds. And my health was at a very desperate place. I was not yet 49 at that point, and because of my health conditions, I wondered if perhaps I'd live to see 50. I knew at that point, or I was pretty certain at that point, that my health was going to take some significant tolls in my life. And I had kind of resigned myself to what I thought would be my reality, because at that point, frankly, none of our sons were married. I was really expecting that probably I wouldn't get the opportunity to meet our grandchildren, which of course made me very sad. But again, you resign yourself to the things that you think you can't change. Well, here's what happened. I got started in the program and I made some of the same discoveries that some of the rest of you did. I got a week or two into it and I thought, wow, I love the energy. Actually, put a 1 in the chat box if that happened to you the first week or two. Wow, I love the energy. I also discovered, oh my word, I'm losing weight a whole lot faster than I thought was possible. And actually, you know what? I just ran into a little bit of a tech issue here. Give me just a little bit of a moment. Let me try this again. Okay. So I thought, oh my goodness, I'm losing weight faster than I think is possible. And if that was the case for you, put a 2 in the chat box. Okay. And the other thing I figured out was, my word, all I'm going to need to do is just keep continuing doing what I'm doing. And I can really accomplish amazing things in my health, which is what went on to happen for me. I lost over 200 pounds on the program. I had the opportunity to be able to share my story as the cover story on Women's World. In fact, some of you may have seen that. Some of you may have started on your health journey as a result of that. And I share that with you in the context of saying, for you all, as your health transforms, share your story with someone else, because you're going to find that you'll impact a lot of lives that way. Well, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best things about this physical health journey has been the health that allows me to enjoy the grandchildren that we have now, to be able to go to the park with them, to be able to have the energy to run after them, and to truly be the vibrantly healthy and mindful grandmother that I want to be. So if you think that I'm a little bit passionate about this program, that would be exactly why. You can understand why that would be. Now, as we get into this evening's call, I'd love to have a little bit of an idea of who's on this call. So we're going to put up a poll, and all you need to do is pick the answer that best describes you and then submit it. So you might be here as a coach who's wanting to learn more and build your skill set. You might be a client who's really working on learning and developing yourself and your healthy habits. Or maybe you're a guest. Maybe you're here because a friend said to you, you know what? I think you ought to check this out. I think you'd enjoy the call. So especially for our guests, we are so glad you joined us, and we hope you'll come back again and join us next week. Now, you will hear me refer this evening to, in fact, you already heard a reference to your life book and to Dr. A's Habits of Health. We have our Habits of Health transformational system that we use with all of our clients. This life book is one that I'm sure our clients, like if you're a client, you're already working through this, because the life book, in my case, what I'm learning in that life book has been significant in changing the way I think. And when you change the way you think, everything else gets simpler, doesn't it? So you'll hear me refer to that. You'll hear me refer to Dr. A's Habits of Health. And what I would suggest is, if you don't have either one of those books, contact whoever it is that invited you onto this call and say, hey, how do I get a hold of those books that Shirley was talking about? Now, the app that you see featured here in the middle, that's completely free. You can go to wherever you download apps, search for Habits of Health, download that, and that will give you a way to be able to track your healthy habits as you move forward. So here's what we've got coming up this evening. As we do for all of our Habits of Health community time, we're looking at mindset, skill set, and then the action steps to take. So the mindset will be to help you empower yourself to make the choices that will help support your long-term optimal health and well-being. And then we're going to give you the skill set on how to transition, for those of you that are in weight loss or phase 1, into a healthy weight for life, which is phase 2. And will help you get the transition plan in place that works for you. And again, you've got your coach to rely on too. How cool is it that you get a free Optavia coach to work with as you work through this? Now, Dr. A says in the life book, he says, in order to continue making progress, we need to transition your body to the full range of healthier foods that will allow you to eat more variety of meals and yet choose the foods that help support your long-term health and weight. Makes sense, right? And some of you are thinking, yeah, but I don't know how to do that. Well, that's what we're going to talk about this evening. So you've heard me refer to these phases, and that might be a new thing for you. So when you get started on the program, for a lot of our clients, they come to our program either because they're overweight or, like in my case, obese, looking initially for weight loss, which is phase 1. That's for most of our clients, they're doing our Optimal Weight 5-in-1 program. Phase 2 begins when you get to your healthy weight and you transition to move on to phase 3, where you're optimizing and maintaining a healthy weight, into phase 4 of longevity. So when does phase 2 start for you? Okay, well, here's what we'd recommend. We'd recommend that you get to a healthy BMI. That would be less than 25, a BMI of less than 25. And like when you look at waist circumference for you men, a waist circumference of 37. For women, a waist circumference of 31.5. Now, some of you look at that BMI chart and you say, but surely that's just not a realistic number. I haven't weighed that since high school and I'm in my 50s, right? I'm thinking maybe one or two of you are thinking that. I'll tell you, I was the same way. When I started this program, you could have never told me that I would lose the weight that I did. I would have said it was impossible and you couldn't possibly get to that number. I'd encourage you to keep the door open. I'm seeing it in the chat. It is possible. You betcha. It is. So keep that door open. And maybe right now, you can't see your way clear to get all the way to a healthy BMI. Go reach the goal that you can see right now and then reevaluate. Because I'm here to tell you that you may find that you can accomplish far more than you think you can. And ask your coach for counsel on this, because I will tell you this, I suggest to all of my clients that they reach a healthy BMI, because when you're at a healthy BMI, you reduce your risk of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes. Ain't nobody wants any of those, right? So while you're working on getting healthier, you might as well work on getting as healthy as you can be, right? So that's where phase 2 begins. Now, what happens next? All right, mindset and preparing for transition. During this whole season, you're going to want to be closely connected with your coach, because this is all going to be new for you. Know what your goal is going to be, know what your activity level is, and then get your transition plan in place. Now, for those of you on our program, just a little tip for you. If you're getting ready to start transition, you will still need fuelings for the next 4 to 6 weeks. So make sure that you're putting through a full order for that so that you don't run out of food. But you're going to want to figure out where you want to be goal-wise. And your coach can help you with that, on knowing what would be an appropriate goal setting for you. For those of you that are ordering every month with Optavia Premier so that you get the best savings, again, talk with your coach about how even when you are beyond transition, you can continue to get the fuelings and still get all of the Premier benefits that you want. So your transition strategy. All right, now we're going to get into some math and a little bit of science, but hold on to your hats. It's going to be okay. I'm going to make this simple for you. I won't go all registered nurse on you. You'll be all right. So first of all, you're going to want to determine what your total energy expenditure is. We talk about that being your TEE. So your TEE, you're going to be adding calories until you reach your body set weight point. Because your goal, once you get through the weight loss phase, is to then have calories in equaling calories out. And when you have that figured out, then your weight will stay at the same place. You'll also want to get your transition eating plan in place. Now that part we're going to make super simple for you. We've got a 6-week plan that I'm going to go over with you in just a minute that will gradually be increasing your calorie intake, and we'll be reintroducing more food for you. But you know what? Put a 3 in the chat box if you love the structure and the simplicity of 5 and 1. Like, I know a lot of you do. Here's the thing that I've got to tell you that will be really helpful for you to know. During transition, we've got structure there for you as well. Okay, there is a lot of structure built into transition to make this really easy for you. So moving on figuring out your TEE. So I'm getting ahead of myself here. So your TEE is determined, it's your basal metabolic rate. It's determined by your basal metabolic rate, your physical activity level, and the thermal effect of the food that you eat. Okay, and again, some of you are saying, oh my word, Shirley, you lost me back there with all the initials, but that's okay. This is how this works. So when you're thinking about calculating your TEE, you figure out what the weight is that you want to maintain. Let's say you want to maintain your weight at 150. Now, I would suggest before you transition, maybe you want to go a few pounds lower. Like maybe if you go down to maybe 145, 147, talk that over with your coach. But your coach can help you figure that out. But if you have a couple extra pounds to play with, it will make the transition process a little easier for you. So let's say you want to maintain a weight of 150, okay? I got my handy dandy pink calculator, guys. You can do this too. So I take 150 times 11 calories. And I come up with 1650, all right? See, this is easy math. You can do this, guys. And then factor in your current activity level. So think about what is it that you do for your activity? Are you going out for a walk every day? Well, that would be light exercise. Or maybe you're in a job that is like really hard manual labor. Maybe you're a farmer. Maybe you work in construction. You might want to have like a 1.7 for the heavy exercise. So, but let's say for our example, 150 pounds and light activity. So you take that 1650 times 1.2 and you come up with 1980, or we could round that up to a nice even 2000. Okay, that was simple enough, right? You could do that too. And here's the chart that you'll find in your life book, again, that will walk you through all of that math. And again, it's not that complicated, so that you know where you're going calorie wise. Because if you've got that structure in place, that will make this a lot more simple. So when it's time to start transition, again, talk this over with your coach so that you get a really solid start. Here's what you're going to need next. Your Optavia guide looks like this. Remember, this came in your very first order, okay? Has inside there a sample transition chart. And you'll just follow exactly what's on here. So week 1, you're doing your 5 fuelings, you're doing your 1 lean and green, and you're adding 2 servings of vegetables. Week 2, you're dropping back to 4 fuelings. And in addition to those vegetables, you're adding on 2 servings of fruit. Week 3, do you see how there's structure here? Do you see this? It's simple, right? Week 3, same thing, 4 fuelings, and you're adding on a serving of dairy. Week 4 to 6, you drop back to 3 fuelings because your goal is to end up at 3 and 3. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, 3 fuelings in between. And so then you're going to be adding on some lean meat and a serving of starch. So it makes it really, really simple to figure out what exactly are you going to be eating for that whole transition process, right? Now, your secret to success in all of this is that there's a lot of things that remain the same. During your transition, you're still going to be closely connected with your coach. You're going to still be reading your life book. You're still going to be on your Habits of Health community time calls. You're going to be plugging into Healthy Community, and you're going to be enjoying good nutrition. Those are the 4 components of our program. They don't change. You'll still be eating every 2 to 3 hours. You'll be drinking water. You'll be keeping your body moving. You'll be practicing the habits of a healthy mind. So do you see all the structures? The structure's all built there for you. And there's so many things that really don't change. So after you get through that transition chart and you finished week 6, then after that, you'll be adding 100 calories per day each week until you get up to your TEE. Now, if you've lost more than 50 pounds like I did, you might want to add 100 calories per day every other week. That's what Dr. A would suggest, so that your transition process goes more smoothly. But in that process, continue to weigh weekly and stick super close to your coach. It's really normal to see weight fluctuation during that time. Don't let that freak you out. You'll be okay. But if you're seeing a steady gain, readjust, and I'll give you some tips on that in just a minute. One common mistake is for people to overestimate their activity. You know, let's say I'm going out for a walk every day, but I say, oh, I'm doing heavy activity. No, I'm not. So you might want to talk it over with your coach if you're not quite seeing the results that you want to see. But in this process, it can be kind of normal to feel a little nervous about it because it's new. Some of you were a little nervous when you first got started on this program, right? And then you realized you could do it. Same thing with transition and optimizing. It's a new process, but stick really close to your coach. You'll be great. And give yourself grace as you learn. So, because at that point, like by the time you start transition, you will have developed a lot of experience at successfully losing weight. What you want to do now is develop a lot of experience at successfully maintaining a healthy weight, and your coach will be invaluable for that. Now, coming up next, I'm really excited because I'm going to give you an opportunity to hear a story from Sarah. Sarah has somebody that we've been working with in our team for, quite some time. And she's going to be sharing a little bit more about how she went through this transition period because she did it like a pro. She might even have some tips for you. So Sarah, over to you.
Hi guys, I am so excited to be able to share with you tonight just a little bit about my journey. I started Optavia. My husband bought me my first box for Christmas, which honestly, I bought some sort of a diet product every Christmas, but for this particular time, it actually worked. So I started with a goal of just getting back to the weight I was when I got married. So it was 30 pounds. I wanted to lose 30 pounds. I lost a lot more than 30 pounds. I went from 205 pounds to 140 pounds in 6 months, just following the 5-in-1 plan. And I found myself thinking, oh, okay, now I'm going to be doing this thing called transition. So what is this? And I started very nervous because I was so proud of my accomplishment, but I was just like, okay, well, if I start eating regular foods again, what's going to happen? Because 5-in-1, let's be honest, 5-in-1 is easy, you guys. You just eat 5 amazing snacks and have a lean and green meal and drink your water. That's not hard. So I called my coach. We set up a plan and we started adding in different foods. And you know what I found out? It's really fun. It's so fun to eat fruit again, guys. So I started adding things in, and 60 days later, I was still eating 6 times a day. I'm I was still drinking my water. All of those things stayed the same, but I had added all of these foods back into my diet that are good, and now able to, grow a garden. And I have a 2-year-old son. He's a big reason why I did this program, and that's a whole nother story, but he's just such a huge blessing in my life. I cry every time I talk about it. But being able to be in my garden, picking fresh vegetables with my son, and introducing him to foods that most kids at 2 years old probably wouldn't eat, all because I was able to take the step and live a healthier life. And, walking through transition, I want to encourage you, stay super close to your coach, because they have walked this before you, and they're going to help you along the way the whole time. Also, just know that the structure that you have put in place by eating 6 times a day, I mean, I can tell you what time it is by the way my body feels, because I know when it's 3 o'clock, it's time for a snack. So that doesn't change. As long as you can stick with the plan, your new plan of eating healthy, whole foods that are good for you, enjoying your Optavia fuelings, that I'm never going to give up those brownies, y'all. So still being able to eat healthy, amazing foods, and knowing that this is my life now, and I'm going to live it with purpose, and I'm going to make healthy choices for the rest of my life, because it's lifelong transformation. Thank you, guys.
Sarah, that was fantastic. And I'm willing to bet that there's a couple people in this call that now, because of Sarah's story, think, well, maybe I can do this too. And you would be so right. I want to do this next. Actually, here's an opportunity where we get to find out, were you listening? Did you figure this out? We're going to do a poll, kind of like the one we did at the beginning. And here's the poll question. Which healthy habit should you continue to implement when transitioning to eating healthy for life? So the first choice is, and pick whichever one you think is the best choice. Fuel every 2 to 3 hours, drink your water, move your body, be mindful, or all of the above. So once you click your answer, click submit, and the poll will go away, and I'll call for the results about that in just a moment or two. But we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So we were talking about adding more nutrition into your diet, and some of you are thinking, well, okay, I know I can add more vegetables. How do I pick them? Dr. A would recommend that you choose foods as you move forward that are low on the glycemic index chart. And if you're not familiar with the glycemic index, you'll read more about that in your Habits of Health book and in the Life book. But when you're adding vegetables in, it's helpful for you to know that not all vegetables are created equal, okay? There's a big difference between broccoli with a glycemic index of 15 or less and red beets with a glycemic index of 64. So if you're finding, remember earlier I said if you're seeing a small weight gain as you transition and optimize, maybe you want to move to foods that are lower in the glycemic index. Now, one thing for you to notice on this chart, and you'll find this chart and the 2 that follow it in section 2.5 of Dr. A's Habits of Health, but you'll notice on here carrots are listed twice. Did you see that? So if you eat raw carrots, they come in at 30 on the glycemic index, which is, not terribly high. But if you cook those carrots through the wonders of science and so on, the glycemic index goes up to 80. So that's a useful thing to know. Are carrots healthy for you? Yeah, they've got great vitamins in it, but you might want to consider having them raw rather than cooked, or at least be aware of the decision that you're making there. Now, when you move on to fruit choices, again, not all created equal when it comes into the glycemic index. Big difference between grapefruit at a GI of 25 and watermelon at a glycemic index of 76. Now, it doesn't mean you can't ever have watermelon. It just means you want to be mindful and you want to make good choices on that, right? When it comes to cereals and breads and pastas, again, big difference between whole wheat bread and a white Kaiser roll, right? So again, the more you know, the easier it is for you to make the healthy choices. Could we have those poll results pop up here before we have our next person share? Okay, so wow, you guys are rock stars. Okay, so 95% of you realize that the healthy habit that you want to continue to implement is all of them. Fueling every 2 to 3, drinking your water, moving your body, being mindful. Give yourselves all a gold star. Good job, guys. That's super. Now, speaking of somebody that's done a great job with this, I want to give you a chance to get to hear from my friend Craig. He and his wife Victoria, we've been working together with them for years. He's got a lot of wisdom to him, and we're hoping that he might share some of that with you this evening. Craig, over to you.
Shirley, thanks a lot. It's a joy to be on tonight. I count it an honor to be able to share. So a number of years back, as you can see in the picture, life was crazy for me. I was running around the East Coast overseeing churches, and I had ballooned up to 285 pounds. I went in to see my doctor, and the doctor said, I really need to do something about my weight. And so I had played football in college, and I did the only thing that I really knew how to do was go to the gym. And so I headed to the gym. I knocked myself out doing cardio, did some resistance training, and lo and behold, I lost some weight. In 2.5 years, I took off about 55 pounds. And then life got even crazier, and my schedule got even worse. I told people I was running without exercising. I was eating without thinking. I began to put some weight back on and just couldn't get it off. And then got introduced to somebody who had been connected with Optavia, got me connected with the program, and I got started, and lo and behold, lost another 50 pounds, but this time it was 4.5 months, not 2.5 years. And it just drastically changed everything for me. Everything today is better. Everything today is different. The thing I like is the structure of the program. 5-in-1 was great structure, loved it, but that structure carries over into our transition and into optimization, and structure is our friend. So the thing I learned, and I hope maybe you can get excited about, is to learn to appreciate the structure and love the process. Love the process. Sometimes we look at the results, but the results will come if we love the process. I learned to love the process, love the learning, love the growing, love the habit formation, love the curiosity about what's next and how do I get better. And here's what I found that happens. It begins by learning what do you do, but then after a season, after a period of time, during transition, it moves not just from what do I do, but who have I become? It becomes not what do we do, but it becomes a part of us. And I will tell you, nothing you can eat is as sweet as when health becomes a part of who you really are. And so love the process. It is just exciting. So I'd leave you with this. If you're on the call, you haven't started yet, or maybe you're just messing around with the program, this is your time. Just go do it. Why not you? Why not now? Go be the CEO of your own health and enjoy the future. Thanks for the opportunity to share. What a blessing.
Craig, that was fantastic. That was totally worth the price of admission tonight, right, guys? Craig, thank you for all that wisdom. That was fantastic. Well, as we wrap this up, I've got a couple more resources for you as you look in and start looking ahead to healthy eating for life. First of all, you will find a lot of resources when you go to answers.optavia.com. But if you go there and you type in and search for program guides, look for the Healthy Exchange list. I use that for each one of my clients as they start transition and start into phase 2. And then also look for the Optimal Health 3-in-3 plan sample meal plans. They're going to be super helpful for you as well. Now, remember at the beginning we said we can give you mindset, skill set, but if you don't take action, nothing really happens, right? So I would encourage you to take action to plan right now. What's one deliberate action you're going to take this week as a result of this element? And I would encourage you to, maybe you want to put it in the chat box, but I would definitely encourage you to share with whoever it was that invited you onto this call, one thing that you learned and one thing that you're going to change and improve as a result of what you've learned tonight. Because again, if you just learn it but never apply it, nothing changes. But if you start applying these healthy habits in small steps, you will be amazed by what you can accomplish. Now, we've got more resources for you as well. If you go, we've got Habits of Health media for you. If you go again to answers.optavia.com and search for Habits of Health, you will find a way to access our Optavia YouTube channel. When you do that, be sure to subscribe. Click that subscribe link so that you get to see every time that these are posted. We also have a playlist on podcasts, so go to whatever podcast player that you use and download, search for Habits of Health, search for Optavia. You will find what you're looking for there. And I'd also encourage you to opt into our text campaign. If you text Optavia 30 to 99000, what'll happen is each week you'll get a reminder about this call. So that's really handy, right? So we're gonna pop up one more poll as we wrap this up, and would love to hear your thoughts on how you enjoyed this community time. So you can complete that poll, be sure to submit that. And definitely plan to join us next week. One of my favorite people, Susan LaBelle, is gonna be presenting. If you've heard Susan speak, you know you wanna be here for this. So she will be talking about summer tips for healthy eating and hydration. It will be at this same link at 8:30 Eastern time, and you'll also be able to catch us on podcast and on YouTube later. Kudos to each one of you for making your health a priority and for joining us for the call this week. Come back and join us again next week.
At Optavia, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The prior audio contained the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the Optavia community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope those stories inspire you to continue your journey with or to consider joining Optavia. But please note that they have not been verified and your individual journey to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider in the US or a doctor in Singapore and Hong Kong prior to beginning your journey with Optavia. Additionally, this audio may have contained income or earning representations of some independent Optavia coaches. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with Optavia is derived from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Optavia acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to Optavia coaches in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. For independent Optavia coaches operating in the US, please see the Optavia Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of US coaches under the U.S. Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent Optavia coaches operating in the U.S. under the U.S. Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan. Yours in health, the Optavia team.